Welcome to episode 2 of Dalek Diaries. Last episode we built the inner mechanism for our eye. Today we're going to put it together into our eye stalk so we have a completed eye stalk. We're working from the Builder's Workshop manual from Project Dalek site, which has all the measurements you need and gives you information on putting your eye stalk together. We're also working specifically from the 2005 NSD or New Series Dalek design. These plans have the specific measurements for all the components you need to form your eye and your eye stalk. In this instance, the eye I've used was formed on a 3D printer, as was the pivot block that I'm going to be using. The eye discs are the original EMA parts that were used on the actual Daleks. They were ordered from EMA in England. They were then spun down to remove the lip, frosted using fine grade wet paper and steel wool, and then they had the centre hole cut out for placing on the stalk. Okay, so to assemble the eye. First of all, I have the start of the eye housing. Within this I want to put a lens. I'm using a 52mm camera filter. In this case I'm using a soft focus to help diffuse the light a little bit more. These are available from camera shops, or in my case I got them from eBay. They're only about $3 or $4 each, and in this case they're perfect for this 3D formed eye, as the thread on the camera filter screws perfectly into the eye housing and holds it firmly in place. One outside lens. Behind that, we then fit the interior mechanism for our eye. You'll see, remember the three cutouts on the interior mechanism? They line up with these three posts. And the eyepiece then sits in flush. The housing will then go over that, but before we do that, we need to put in place our wires. This is just a piece of 10mm threaded lamp rod. You can get it from lighting shops. Cost me about $4 to get this one cut to length and threaded. Has hexagonal nuts that go on either end, and in this case I'm also going to be using a washer to hold it in place. Now, because we want this to thread the wires through the eye stalk, it needs to go through the eye housing. So we have wires here for both the 3-pin for the servo, signal and positive and negative power, and a 2-strand positive and negative for the light. So we just thread it through there. Push it right through. I've got 2 plugs on the other end to plug into the light fitting, and you'll see the hexagonal nut and the washer to just hold everything in place. The next step is a piece of 22mm aluminium piping. In this case it was from a cheap broom handle. 22mm is a difficult diameter to find in Australia, but if you check out broom handles or mop handles at places like Bunnings and take your trusty tape measure, you'll often find the right diameter. It was then cut with the pipe cutter, similar to how I did the small diameter material in the last video. Again, feed the cords through. Slide it on and push it firmly into the housing. The reason we use 22mm, fits the inside diameter of the lighting, allows us to run the 10mm hollow tube through it, and is the right spacing for the mounting of our discs and the outer tube, which is what you actually see, which is 25mm aluminium tubing, to give the desired effect. So the next thing we do is we start putting our discs on. The discs face with the curve, the first 3 facing that way, the second three facing that way so that the eye discs look into each other, starting with the smallest diameter at the outer ends, working into the two largest diameter discs facing each other. So you've just got to put them through the wires. And I find at this stage it's quite easy to work on it up this way. The rod will move a little bit, but you can sort that out later. We've then got some spaces of aluminium 25mm diameter tubing. These are all cut to the sizes in the plans. So in this case, this piece is 1.2 centimetres. Again, simply feed it on, slide it into place. Then the next size disc. Making sure they're facing the right way. Using your photos and pictures as reference. The next size aluminium, in this case 1.8. These aluminium have been cut again with the pipe cutter tool that I showed you earlier. And then they've been polished up with a bit of wet steel wool to remove any scratches and to make them reasonably nice and uniform and tidy. The largest disc, the third spacer, and we then repeat the process in opposite so the discs face each other. So largest down to smallest now. Same with the aluminium spacers. Once it's all together and a little bit of pressure is applied, it will appear as if the piece of aluminium piping is all a single piece of piping running through the discs. Okay, so once they all go on, then we have the final piece, which is a length of about 13 centimetres. And then we need to fit the pivot block. In this case, this pivot block is fitted to mount an attenuator arm so that it can be motorised. I'm not sure if we're actually going to do that yet, but the attenuator arm will need to go down. So we then feed the wires through the hole in the pivot block. This bit can be a little fiddly. Just persevere. You can pass a piece of string through it first and tie it around the wires and then use it to pull them through. Take up the tension slack on the wires. Push it all together. Make sure everything's sitting snugly in the right place. Pass the hexagonal bolt over the wires. Tighten it all up. You could possibly use a washer here as well. And we have the Dalek eye stalk. So we've got our eye stalk together. So what we're then going to do, pull the wires so we've got a little bit of play, is connect up our inner eye. 2 wire to the light, the 3 to the servo, making sure you've got your negative lined up with your negative. In this case, with the plugs I've used from these servo extensions, there's only one way around it can go. And take up a little bit of slack on the wire as I feed the eyepiece into place. And I have these small bolts that go in. Doing the Allen keys up by hand is a bit time consuming, so it's always good to cheat if you've got that tool to hand. And there we go, we have together one Dalek eye. So now we'll connect it up, see what we can get happening. Servo onto the servo tester. 12-volt battery. Okay, so we've got it all connected up, all together. Connect some power. As you can see, we've got the light. Servo. One blinking Dalek eye. Quite small, quite bright. So that's our Dalek eye complete, working, tested. Still got the light shining. Thank you for watching Dalek Diaries.